I just want to invite folks to be thinking about this topic of reframing childhood and about how your family impacted you as a sensitive little one. And if you're parenting right now, maybe how your family is impacting you today or how your childhood impacted you to who you are today. So let me see if I can get this tablet fired up here. And please recognize me. Very good. Because I think I can actually look at Instagram on the tablet as well. I'm going to give it a shot. So if you're here with me on the early bird side on YouTube or Instagram, I would love to hear from you. What was your childhood like as a highly sensitive person, as a highly sensitive child? How was it? Or if you're parenting now, how do you think it's your kids are being impacted? So I was mentioning on YouTube a little bit ago that probably I won't be able to look at your questions on YouTube just because I'm my age. So I would love if you wanted to come over to Instagram. Are You Highly Sensitive on Instagram and join the live there? You're even welcome if you want to come on camera. If you come on camera on the Instagram live, you will be in the recording because I'm going to keep this because I bet you're going to come up with some amazing content for me. And I would like to see it. Let's see here. Not on Wi-Fi. See if I can get us on Wi-Fi on the tablet. There we go. So I always like to say that the fact that I'm here, I'm appearing on camera as an introvert, highly sensitive person. That means that I have some chops. Tablet. Oops, I can hear myself here. Let's mute this. Let's see if I know how to turn down the volume. So I always like to say that the fact that I'm here, I thought the camera as an introvert, highly sensitive. I thought you could. Okay, I give up on the tablet. I know when it's got me beat. All right, are we there yet? No, another minute and a half. Okay, so I like to say, I'll finish that thought. As a highly sensitive introvert, the fact that I can appear on camera, live no less, means that there were some things in my childhood that worked. I was given some chops. And in fact, I had a pretty darn good family and good childhood. I did it in a live Instagram earlier today to warm you up for this, to encourage people to show up today. And I was really having a good time telling you about some of my experiences as a kid growing up with a strong family culture. Now, my family did not have a strong ethnic culture. We just didn't. And we're European mutts. And so that is a loss. I really think that families with strong ethnic and racial cultural identities help their children. And so we didn't have that. But we were a horse family. That's a big part of it. And we were also, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and religion gave me a strong sense of culture. And that, for good or for ill, I had it. And a lot of children in this day and age do not have it. So I'm just inviting people to tell me in the comments. Actually, I figured out how to look at the YouTube. I won't look pretty if I look over at it, but I think if you can make a comment on the YouTube live, I don't know if you can or not. I'll keep an eye on it just in case. So let me know, how was your family culture? Did you have a strong family culture? And what made it a family culture that was strong? Was your childhood challenging? When you look back on your life as a highly sensitive child, what are your memories? What stands out? Are they good? Are they bad? Were you understood and valued for your trait? The vast majority of us were not. And I want to say, here we are at 5 o'clock. We're going to start officially now. It's my new little favorite. I'm doing a Trader Joe's commercial. Apple cider vinegar, sparkling drink, very low sugar. And it makes me feel like I'm having a pop. Now, Okies, there's a whole culture around being from Oklahoma. and Southern Oklahoma is the perfect midsection between Southern and redneck. So I have a little bit of both, but both of those drink a lot of soda or soda pop or Coke, whatever you call it in your part of the world. Okay, so I am here today to invite this conversation about reframing childhood. Tomorrow, I'm teaching a masterclass on how our family cultures impacted us, especially families who struggled in some way. I married into an immigrant family, and this topic was recommended by someone who grew up in an immigrant family who gave me a lot of great insight into what her experience was like. And I have some of those ideas, although we weren't children in that family since I was an adult when I joined the family. And this is a family from the Philippines where the children moved to the US when they were 1 and 2, basically. So they grew up with a strong culture of immigrant Filipinos in Oklahoma, no less. So they are cultural butts, I guess, but they have a lot of strong culture. Sadly, both of my in-laws have passed away now. But I really got to experience navigating through the world with the adult children of this family and the parents for a number of years. So that definitely brought with it struggles and a lot of pressure on the children. And I want to talk about, maybe I'll talk about the pressure first. When your family has something that sets it apart, that makes it different and unique compared to the main culture, the dominant culture, wherever you grow up, there's pressure there because it's one of the things that makes children not feel resilient is this idea of being different and not knowing anyone else like you. Sometimes the family will really gather together and have a really strong culture. And I know in the family of my in-laws that there was this great pride in speaking Tagalog and in really seeing they were in Oklahoma, so there's a big, huge cultural divide there. But I think that pride was relayed to the children, and they saw themselves as apart from, but maybe even better because they were members of their family. Now, what sensitive child grows up feeling that? So the pressure I said I was going to talk about, the pressure is that the children might have to translate or navigate the world of the new country because, look, they're more fluent at it. Kids are just, they're better at it. Even just me on the internet, if Huami, my assistant, isn't here, she's 23 years old. If she's not here, sometimes I feel like I can't function on the internet because she's better at navigating it. So the pressure to have to be the front person for the family might be a difficult thing, especially for a sensitive child. We have a couple of amazing questions that have already come in for tomorrow's masterclass. The way we do those is people can submit their questions either ahead of time or live during the class, and I address them. And everybody who's there gives their 2 cents through the chat. Occasionally, someone will come on live for some live coaching, but mostly we support each other through the chat. And there are 2 really phenomenal questions. And one is about the holidays coming up and how this person, I'm not going to reveal the whole question because that's part of the masterclass tomorrow, but this person has really decided that they're not going to go home for Christmas, that they don't want to be with their family. And they're asking, should they tell the truth about why? Or, that I don't know about you, but I too they said they really missed the COVID excuse. Like COVID was the perfect excuse to not go if you didn't want to go. So I'd love to hear about what was it in your childhood that got you through to this point? So feel free to share in the comments if there was something that felt like pressure and something also that felt special. Reframing childhood means saying, hey, I was highly sensitive. My brain was more reactive. I thought more, I felt more, and I saw more than the other people around me. Sometimes, like me, grew up in a family. See, my parents are both highly sensitive. I'm highly sensitive. One of my sisters definitely isn't. The other one, I don't know well enough to know whether she is or not. Each person has to make that decision for themselves. Like there's no no calling out. It's really important. Elaine Aron has taught us it's really important not to say that famous person was highly sensitive or that person's highly sensitive. It's up to each person to determine what their answers are to the self-assessment. Let me just digress for a moment and talk about self-assessments. There are many different ones out there. Everybody's making their own self-assessment. And I want to tell you to please, please be a careful, discriminating consumer. The self-assessments, any self-assessment that is not on hsperson.com or any Elaine Aron's book is not valid. It's not valid. The way you make a valid assessment is that you test it on thousands of people, which they have done with this one. And then you make sure that it is not biased toward any one population. So what are the populations that an assessment that someone just makes up might be biased toward? Well, if it's someone on the internet who really wants to sell their services, they're going to bias it toward the negative things about being highly sensitive, because you're probably not going to pay them if you're like most highly sensitive people are doing great in the world. They don't even know they're highly sensitive. They just have designed a life that works for them. And people can do that. But people who are going to come and pay a coach or a therapist or an influencer or something like that, whatever people call themselves on the internet, they're going to come because they're in pain. So people like that who make their own assessments are focusing on the pain points. So it's biased toward negativity. Now, how else might these things be biased? They're biased around race and ethnicity. They're biased around class, and they're biased around sex and gender. So when you are, behavioral, psychological, and behavioral scientists, you know how to ask questions in many different ways. And then when they give it to thousands of people, they see, do the men who answer this question this way also answer this question this way? And if they don't, then that question might be biased toward women's experience of sensitivity instead of men's. If they look at different, like I said, different races and ethnicities and cultures to see if these questions, even translated into other languages, if they still show good, valid results. So you can't just make up your own questions. The reason it's good, when is it good to make up statements about what it means to be highly sensitive is when you need to talk about it. And we all need to talk about being highly sensitive. Okay, let's go back to reframing childhood. If you're here live and you would like to toss me out a question or a concern or an experience about your childhood, I'd love to hear it. So the highly sensitive person's 5 to Thrive has 5 things that Elaine Aron identified that we need to do in order to thrive as a highly sensitive person. I personally, I'm biased, just like all those online tests. I'm biased that as a psychotherapist, as a family therapist, that reframing childhood is the most important. I just don't think you can live the life that you're meant to live if you don't go back and heal those wounds from your childhood. And that's what we psychologist people think. It's kind of the way it is. So I'll tell you the 5 real quick, but then we're going to come back to reframing childhood. One that's related to reframing childhood, and we say even you need to reframe your past. I think of childhood or the past as everything that has happened before you found out you were highly sensitive. I talk to people all the time who are in their 70s who just discovered this idea of high sensitivity when they were 69 or something like that. And so their awakening is when they discover it. And you have to look back at your whole past and reframe and think, wow, that happened and that happened. And I wasn't so successful in that work environment, and school felt this way. And it's all because I had a more reactive brain. So related to reframing childhood is healing past trauma. And the way you work with children in trauma is you work with it right when it happens. You have an ongoing experience of identifying things that feel scary or traumatic, and then talking about them, moving them through your body, and moving forward with them. So healing past trauma, usually, if it's past, it's part of reframing childhood, and it often takes some professional help. It's not just talking it out, even though talking it out does help a lot. I've had a new experience. I have a lot of trauma in my life, and I have a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. And recently I uncovered some new experiences of trauma recently. I'm almost 59 years old. And these are things from my childhood. I didn't remember them, but my sensitive little self experienced them as traumatic. So there you have it. Also, we don't usually remember anything before the age of 5. And a lot of highly sensitive people I talk to don't remember things even after the age of 5. Because why? Your brains were so overstimulated when you were little, trying to live in a family of people who just didn't understand you and didn't get you and didn't value how your brain worked. As I said recently, I'm part of the Sensitive Success Summit, and you can find the link in my bio or on my website. If you haven't joined yet, you're welcome to join. It's 30 days and 30 speakers in October. And once you join, you can go into the Facebook group and see my talk, which was released on October 3rd. And my colleague, Elena Lupo, her talk was released on coping strategies, was released yesterday. And coming up next week, we're going to have 2 other colleagues of mine, Lori Kangila and Julie Kuzmariu, both have great topics as well. So, and then besides the 4 of us, 26 other speakers. So you can find the link and sign up and catch all that. It's all free. And many of us have offered an extra free offering that you can sign up and get sent to you just for joining the summit. And that's me. So anyway, I've been in that Facebook group, and I was saying to somebody that, I forgot what I was going to say. Anybody want to help me here? Reframing childhood, healing past trauma. I'm going over the 5 to Thrive. And I think I was just saying that when we experience things as traumatic, the other kids, they didn't experience it that way. Oh, I remember the other thing I wanted to say. Your parents were not expecting you. What parent is? Who gets pregnant or adopts a child thinking that they are going to be so sensitive to their environment, that they are going to have much stronger feelings? They're going to cry a lot more. They're going to think a lot more. They're going to ask a million questions. One day they're going to seem like they're 30 years older than they are. And the next day they're going to seem like they're a toddler again. And even when they're 12 or 17 or 22, the age of my son. So our parents didn't expect us, whether they were sensitive or not. They had no idea what to do. And most of them were well-meaning. Parents want their children to do well in the world. So they look out there in the world and they're like, holy cannoli, this kid is different. And she's going to need to toughen up a little bit. So when the going gets tough, the tough get going, young lady. And so we were given lots of messages, either overt or subtle, about how we needed to fit in with the dominant culture. Well, in a much earlier time, those sensitive children were honored for their knowing and treated and raised much more gently and kindly. So we need to reframe the childhood and see that all that seeing, thinking, and feeling, it was our brain taking care of us. And in fact, if other people listened to us, we would have taken care of them too by giving them information that they needed. All right, the next 3 of the 5 to Thrive are to understand the trait, to know you have it. So maybe if you're listening to this, to me, if you've joined the summit, maybe you already know you're highly sensitive. Oh, I'm part of another summit next weekend, the Shift Summit. And there I am talking about navigating mental health. And you can find anywhere in my feed on social media how to join that summit. So that one's just in 3 days. All the speakers will be released. And I hope you'll catch my talk because it's a very important one. So knowing about the trait, understanding that it's real, believing that you have the trait. And then the next one is designing a life compatible with your trait. I mean, hello, you can't go all the time. You can't be out in the world doing so much without rest time, without downtime in between. And finally, the 5th of the 5 to Thrive, I'll review them here. Actually, in the links later, in the comments later, we will share the link to the video, or in my stories. We'll share the link to the video, the 5 to Thrive. Or you can go to, let's see, where is that 5 to Thrive? areyouhighlysensitive.com and click join our community. Then there's a big long landing page, and in there is the 5 to Thrive video. So go to areyouhighlysensitive.com, join our community, and scroll down a little bit and you'll find that free video. So the 5th one is to be in community with other highly sensitive people. So that's what Are You Highly Sensitive, my community, is about, is like education, community, and designing a life. I teach 2 master classes every month, and we have a core group of people who always attend live. I love you. And then we have amazing people who put lots and lots of questions in ahead of time. Last time I taught, I teach them on the live on the first and third Fridays of the month. In my last one, there were 18 questions. My gosh, it went on for 2 hours. Luckily, it's recorded. And when you're a member, you get the recording, so you don't have to stay on for 2 hours. But some of you do. Thank you so much. And thank you for those amazing questions. Okay, so the 5 to thrive: reframe childhood, heal past trauma, understand the trait, be in community, design a life compatible with your sensitivity, with your more reactive brain, and be in community with other HSPs. So I hope that you are working on those 5 to thrive, and go on there and get that video, because I give you a little exercise for how to monitor them and see how you're doing in this life, because I want you all to thrive. It's really important. So reframing childhood, family culture. Okay, I'm going to say the positive thing now. If you had a strong family culture, it created, like I was talking about my in-laws, it created a sense of belonging. And that's a very important piece of resilience. Now, children need to know others, not just their parents, but others like them, and others who just understand and love them unconditionally, so they don't feel so alone in the world with their difference. That's one of the challenging pieces. But if you had a strong family culture for whatever reason, then I promise you, and the link for the description for this might give you some ideas. So just go read the description, even if you're not going to come. It's in my bio, along with 800 other links. We're going to change that soon. But if you had a strong family culture around anything that made you different, it let you know that who you are is unique, and being unique is a good thing. And it's possible to extrapolate that to sensitivity. Now, without a doubt, some cultures, it's so hot here. I have my sun shirt on, but I'm sweating, so my glasses are sliding off my face. I need to get them tightened up right back here, I think. So I'll just say that being different is hard. And some cultures especially try to change or quiet down or shut down their sensitive members because they're trying so hard to survive. And that's one of the reasons that the research shows that Canada and the US, and I know that there's some other cultures out there like this, but because they're relatively young cultures, the dominant culture is relatively young because indigenous cultures did so much better with their sensitive children. But the dominant culture is one of going out and conquering, conquer, and swinging their swords and their guns out in front of them. That's indeed, they slaughtered the people who originally lived here and destroyed the natural landscape. That takes a certain kind of temperament, and highly sensitive people are not those people. We're the ones who said, wow, this is their land. Maybe we should ask them what they need before we come in and take over. The highly sensitive people were the ones, including the children, who were supposed to notice the subtleties and advise the people in power. Now, the best possible world is a world where the person in power is highly sensitive. Rarely does a highly sensitive person want to be that person. It's so exhausting and so difficult. And I know a lot of people like to say Barack Obama is highly sensitive. I have read his autobiography, his memoir for up until 2008, and I vehemently disagree. He is a sensitive person and a genius for sure. Like most of the presidents had extremely high IQs. And Barack Obama does not strike me as an HSP. He allowed himself to have feelings, but you don't have to be a highly sensitive person to have feelings, to be compassionate. That's not what it's about. It's a different kind of brain. What he did, I don't think he could have done if he was actually highly sensitive. He was very thoughtful, and he had an amazing partner. So, like I said, most presidents of the US have accomplished great things through great expense to themselves. And so it's unlikely that a highly sensitive person is going to be president. Now, here's a little anecdote about me before I close this live. It was my goal to be the first woman president. Now, don't message me and say it's not too late. I don't want to hear it. It's too late for me because I figured out who I am in the world. Now, when I was taking the LSATs and applying to law school so that I could be on the path to become the first woman president, a very great mentor of mine who I was working for her campaign, she was running for the California State Assembly. And she said, Elaine, you're not cut out for law school. You're a person who leads with your heart and thinks outside the box. Does that not sound like a highly sensitive person to you? She saw me and guided me in a different direction. And she's right. Now, I have some regrets that I don't have a huge, powerful magic wand that I can just change entire populations with the wave of the wand. I see myself as Hermione, by the way. And but instead, I'm out here stretching myself to the amount that I can stretch. I'm in my nice wooded backyard right now, and I'm stretching myself to reach out and to try to meet as many highly sensitive people, and particularly parents raising sensitive children and youth, so that we can change the world for them, for the kids. That's what we can do. So I hope that you will share my content. Please share my content and check out my websites and see what you notice. Subscribe to me on YouTube and follow me on all my social media. But most importantly, when you see something that speaks truth to you, please share it, because that is my goal, to reach every highly sensitive person in the world, and especially the adults who have control over the children. If we really start speaking about sensitivity, these kids won't need to reframe their childhood. That's the goal. Remove reframing childhood from the 5 to Thrive for future sensitive adults. If we reframe their childhood now, right at the beginning, we help them create a childhood that is designed for their brain, for their trait, then they will change the world, because they'll be so amazing. So thank you so much for listening in, and I look forward to seeing you on the airwaves. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being out about your sensitivity. Bye for now.